Alright, Craigslist this morning. I picked up this Edison Envoy tape recorder dictaphone. So we'll take it out of the box and see what we can do with it. Before we plug it in, we'll just take an overall look at it before we get all the wires hooked up. Typical little dictaphone piece of paper. This is a nice touch right here. This is your timer, but also it's mirrored in the back. So you can see, you don't have to be looking straight at your timer, you can actually see behind the timer. It's a nice touch. You have a volume knob there, your on and off switch, and then this knob here which moves your tape, or identifies where you're at on your tape. Opening it up, you see a couple of 3.5-inch special spooled reels. You have a little interlock here that keeps you from doing anything with this lid open. And you'll notice that says Envoy 3. On some of the other Envoys I've seen, there's two other things there. One of them has a switch that says conference or dictaphone, and one of them has a switch that says something like timer and repeat. But obviously there's supposed to be something there, but they just put that Envoy 3 there to cover it up. So, closing it. Looking at it from this side, you have your load and unload, fast forward, and I also think that's the on-off button based on my experimenting with it. Halfway. And on the back you have an amp, your power outlet, and there's the conference and dictaphone switch that I have seen sometimes on the inside there. It's on the back on this one. Here you have your jack for your microphone and other accessories. And underneath, this is interesting, Edison Envoy, made in Italy, but you'll notice it says Model 1. It doesn't say Envoy 3. So, I'm not sure whether to call this Envoy Model 3 or Envoy Model 1. So we'll turn it on here. I've been playing with this for a few minutes and found out this is not going to be a very long presentation. This thing has some maintenance issues that need to be taken care of. So it takes a 3.5-inch reel, and that shuts everything off as soon as you lift it. Kind of turns back on. I have found out that this little knob over here that says load and unload also starts it. And this button here will stop that. Now I wondered, there's a fast forward switch here which does not work. I press fast forward and you can see it try, but then it stops and it goes back into play. It makes a little effort sometimes to try and get there. So we have fast forward belt issues. One thing I couldn't figure out was where was the reverse. I finally figured out, well, that's broken too. This is obviously the reverse button here. You can see when I press it, it jumps for a minute, but then it shuts off and assumes I'm done reversing and starts to play again. But if you watch it, you'll see it tries to go in reverse briefly. So I don't have reverse or fast forward. So we'll test the recording function here. I have this hooked up to a small little Radio Shack speaker from the speaker output on the back. I noticed when I was playing around with it, that sounds a lot better than this speaker on the microphone. And we'll see what we get. Now the only way to rewind it, I have to release the load and unload. Play. So we'll test the recording function here. I have this hooked up to a small little Radio Shack speaker from the speaker output on the back. I noticed when I was playing around with it, that sounds a lot better than this speaker on the microphone. And we'll see what we get. So the record does seem to work, not too badly. A little belt maintenance, and I might have a fairly decent unit. I looked on the Radio History Museum site and see that this has 6 transistors and came out in about 1962. I'm still not quite sure whether to call it a Edison 3, an Envoy 3, or a Model 1. But doesn't matter, it sort of works, and it was well worth the few bucks I paid off it on Craigslist. So if I ever get it fixed up and running better, I'll update this video. Thanks for watching.